Hi everyone, welcome to the latest video from Oakley Watches, where today we're looking at the four classic colours of the Rolex GMT-Master. One of the reasons the GMT-Master has become so popular over the years is that Rolex enthusiasts and aficionados rarely refer to them by their full reference names. Very few people would refer to the red and blue version as the BLRO, which is what it's actually called. Instead, they call it the Pepsi, and then the root beer, and the Coke, and the Batman, and the Sprite. And this gives a vernacular that people really engage with and really like. So it makes the GMT Master and the GMT Master 2 even more popular. Interestingly, the two different colours on the bezel were not just there for aesthetic reasons, they had an actual purpose. When Rolex were developing the GMT Master in conjunction with Pan Am in the early 1950s, the idea was to allow pilots to track two time zones using a rotating bezel. They very quickly realized that if you had two colors on that bezel, it allowed the pilots to quickly distinguish day from night. Hence, the red and the blue colors that very quickly became known as the Rolex Pepsi and created possibly the most recognizable watch in the world. So if you ask somebody to think of a Rolex GMT Master or GMT Master 2, the first thing they're going to think of is the Pepsi. Launched in 1955 as the 6542 reference, it originally had a Bakelite bezel, which proved to be really fragile. If you find one today that has an original undamaged Bakelite bezel, they are so rare and so popular that they're extremely valuable, running into hundreds of thousands of pounds these days. Rolex soon realized that they needed to have an alternative, so instead of the Bakelite insert, they started using aluminium in 1959 when the Rolex 1675 was born. Any of you who've watched our YouTube videos before will have seen this Rolex Pepsi on my wrist so many times. We're going to use it today, my own watch, as part of the video. So this is a Rolex 16710 GMT Master 2 with a Pepsi bezel insert. It's one of the most recognizable watches in the world, and it's the most desirable color for a GMT Master still. The Pepsi was first introduced in 1955 with the 6542, and then the 1675 in 1959. The Pepsi insert stayed in production until 2007, when they changed production completely and moved to the Cerachrome inserts rather than aluminium. That makes the classic GMT Master and GMT Master 2 Pepsi a very desirable watch with strong residual values, and prices on these references are steadily increasing again now. While Rolex introduced the all-gold GMT Master in 1959 with the 1675 model, it wasn't until 1970 that they made a different departure, perhaps the biggest departure of all, which is this. This is the Rolex GMT Master Root Beer. With the Root Beer, they didn't just change the color of the bezel, but they started using bimetal in the bracelet and on the case with an 18-karat gold bezel. The two different colors of gold and bronze on the bezel itself, and a browny bronze colored dial. The earliest references of the root beer had what they call a nipple dial, and if you look at the 12 o'clock marker on this, you can see it's made of a pyramid of 18-karat gold with circular 18-karat gold raised markers for the others and batons at 6 and at 9. As with the other aluminium bezeled references, production of the root beer discontinued, and it wasn't until the early 2020s that it was released as the CHNR, the Cerachrome bezel root beer, which is still very popular today. And now we come to the Black Sheep. It's not actually called the Black Sheep, but it's the Black GMT Master. This was introduced in 1972, and production continued all the way through to 2007, as with the Pepsi. The Black GMT Master and GMT Master 2 isn't as desirable as any of the other colours, I don't really understand why that is, because this is one of the most versatile sports watches Rolex has ever made. It's under the radar. It goes with everything. It's actually quite an interesting colorway because there's a lot of silver and black on there that goes really well together. And the flash of red from the GMT hand really adds something, just lifts it a little bit. Black was the first color of Cerachrome bezel that was ever used on a GMT Master 2. Most people know that it was introduced in 2007 on the replacement GMT Master 2, but interestingly, it was actually first used in 2005 on the 50th anniversary GMT Master, which was an all gold watch that was made for some years actually. So I think that the black aluminium bezel GMT Master and GMT Master 2 is well worth looking out for. It's understated, it's classy, it's versatile, really cool watch. And so, to the last colorway to be introduced, the GMT Master 2 Coke. Notice, not the GMT Master Coke, because there never was a GMT Master with a Coke insert. I think lots of people think that maybe the Coke has gone back all the way to the 1950s like the Pepsi did and was just an alternative, but it's not the case. The black and red or Coke insert was only introduced in 1983 with the 16760 Sophia Loren or Fat Lady reference that you might have seen on this channel before. The Fat Lady Sophia Loren was a very important reference. It was the first ever GMT Master 2, allowing the wearer to track 3 time zones simultaneously. And of course, the GMT Master 2 eventually replaced the GMT Master. They ran alongside each other for a while, but the GMT Master 2 eventually took over and the GMT Master was discontinued. So the Coke was about for a relatively short period of time compared to the others. First introduced in 1983, as we said, it ran right through to 2007 when it was discontinued. Rolex have never made a Cerachrome GMT Master 2 with a Coke bezel insert. Every year when Rolex discontinue watches and announce new watches, certainly for the last 5 or 10 years, the word has been, oh, they're going to do a Cerachrome Coke. They never have. I don't know why. Perhaps they can't get the colors right on the Cerachrome bezel. They can't get the joins right. Don't know. I think it'll be a really, really cool watch when it comes along. But in the meantime, the absence of a Coke bezel GMT Master in the lineup really raises interest in the previous aluminium bezeled references. The Coke bezel GMT has always run second to the Pepsi. The Pepsi's always been just that bit more interesting, that bit more attractive, and that bit more desirable. Something we're seeing over the last few years is that more and more people are interested in having a Coke insert on their GMT Master. So Coke bezeled ones really, really coming up in the ranks. So which is best and which is best for you? Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer to that question. The Pepsi is the original GMT Master. It's probably one of the most recognizable watches ever made. It's highly desirable, and if it's for you, then you know it's for you. The root beer. If you want something with a little more bling, some different colors, something that you don't see every day, because let's be honest, there are far, far fewer of these around than there are of any of the other colorways. Or if you're a collector, the root beer could well be for you. The black could be for you if you're looking for understated sports luxury. Again, maybe something a little different. You don't see very many black GMT Masters around. And the Coke is up and coming if you like color on your bezel, but you want to stay away from the Pepsi, and maybe you're attracted to it because they've never made a Cerachrome one. Make your choice. Let us know in the comments below which you think. If you own one of these, why did you buy it? What drew you to a Coke over a Pepsi? We're always really interested to hear these things. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, please subscribe, please share. It makes a lot of difference. And we'll see you next time.